Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. Today's episode is very exciting because we're going to jump into 1990s games. This is the decade I was born and also the decade that I got into gaming. I just want to say before we start this video, there are so many 90s games that are incredible. There's no way I could feature all of them in this video. So if you think I missed a fantastic game, please let me know about it in the comments. And you will notice some huge blockbuster games missing from this video. And that is because I simply just never played them as a kid. So when I run through these best games of the 90s, this is going to be my personal best game of the 90s out of the games I played. So please let me know in the comments what your favorite 90s games are, because I'm extremely interested in what everyone was playing back then, and the games from the 90s that you still play now. Okay, let's jump into the video. So let's begin with my first ever gaming memory of my life, which was watching my brother play Sonic on the Sega Megadrive, also known as the Sega Genesis. So let's jump into the Genesis now. And we have three fantastic Sonic games, Sonic 1, 2, and 3, but my first ever gaming memory was seeing Sonic spin up and speed along the path. So we're going to jump into Sonic the Hedgehog 2, as I believe he wasn't able to spin up in Sonic 1. Level 1 of this game is so iconic, nostalgic, and memorable for me. Even just the sound brings back so many memories. So let's jump into Emerald Hill Zone 1. Oh, what a memory. Let's just not worry about the time for a moment. Let's savor the memory of the sound, the style, everything's beautiful. And of course it's going to run absolutely flawlessly on the Retroid Pocket 5, on that beautiful OLED screen. Everything's just incredible. Obviously with Sonic, the purpose is to go as fast as you can and try and get a good time, but I'm just enjoying the scenery here. We can pick up those famous red boots. Now we get into speed mode.
Nope.
Now we get into speed mode.
Nope.
Now we get into speed mode. Nice. The sound picks up and we speed along doing those famous loop-de-loops. This game is just amazing. I feel so much nostalgia from this, probably because it is my first ever gaming memory. And speaking of Sonic, I'm actually going on a field trip with my students this month to see Sonic 3, and I'm actually very excited about it. So I'm going to watch Sonic 1 and 2 soon. Let me guys know if you've seen the Sonic films and how they are. I am a really big fan of Jim Carrey, so I think I'll like it. Once again, let's pick up those lovely red shoes, and let's speed along. Oh, now we're cooking with gas. One more spin up, just for good measure. And it looks like we might have the boss battle here. Here comes Robotnik, or Eggman as he's also known. This game is just so well made, it's hard to believe that it's 32 years old. Save me, Tails! Nice, and I'm pretty sure if I remember, this button just releases a bunch of bunnies? What are they, chipmunks? This game's a little bit bizarre, but I do love it. Sonic 2, brilliant game. Let's now move on to another game on the Mega Drive. This is my first ever memory of going to buy a game that I wanted. This is Mega Bomberman, and I was desperate to buy this. I remember going to a shop we have in England called Argos, which is a really crazy kind of shop because they only have books of stuff. You can't actually see anything. They hide everything in a warehouse and you have to push in a number of what you want, and then they will bring it to you. It's kind of bizarre, but also really fun. So this is a classic Bomberman game where you walk around putting bombs down, but what made this one unique is that you can pick up these little kangaroos and then ride on their back, and they all have different abilities. Like this, which I always thought it looked like a little ghost's face. As you can see here, the blue one does a little kick. So what this one can do is kick bombs. So if I put a bomb down, I can then kick it like that, which is really fun. I remember the best one was the green one, which used to run at super speed. That one was broken. That was my first time in my life experiencing something that seemed overpowered. There was also another one that could jump, so I'd be able to jump over the rocks like this. And I think there was one that put down bombs very quickly. This is a great game to play with your friends or family. It's probably one of the great early couch co-op games. So if you've never played this game before, I highly recommend this because this was definitely one of my favorite games of my childhood. I absolutely adore this game. And speaking of games that I adore from my childhood, this is International Superstar Soccer Deluxe. And I'm already losing in 1 second. What happened there? I can't remember what the controls are, but it didn't really matter because I already lost a goal before I even touched the ball. I absolutely loved the Mega Drive growing up, but it wasn't my console, it was the family console. The first console I got for myself was the PlayStation 1. And after loving International Superstar Soccer Deluxe so much, I then moved on to World Cup 98. And this is probably the first game in my life that I was ever addicted to. I played this so much. I put an unholy amount of hours into this game. The menu music for this game is that I get knocked down and I get up again song, an absolute banger. I always played as the Netherlands because I wanted to use Dennis Bergkamp, who had a fantastic World Cup 98. He scored a beautiful goal. Oh, and Bergkamp's already put it away! One thing I loved about this game was that it was really easy to score, and on many occasions, I basically scored from the halfway line. I still now, 20 to 25 years later, remember the feeling of scoring from the halfway line and it smashing in off the crossbar. That stayed with me my whole life. That's how special this game was to me growing up. Oh, there's no stopping Bergkamp. He's a force of nature, the Iceman. There's the hat-trick hero in 30 minutes. This game's incredible. I love this game. But let's move on to another one on the PS1. Now we're going to jump into a couple of fighting games, and I was never a big fighting game fan, but my brother was, so there were a lot of these games around my home. One of them that I would pick up occasionally is Street Fighter. I can't remember which version of Street Fighter I used to play. I think it was maybe Alpha 2, but here we're going to look at Alpha 3. Let's pick Ryu, and this game introduced different isms. X-ism, A-ism, and V-ism. I was never sure what they meant, and I'm still not sure what they mean now, but each one does have strengths and weaknesses, so it is a way to kind of customize your experience and just add another layer of complexity to the game, and see if we can pull off some Hadoukens or Shoryukens. Okay, Hadoukens are no problems. This is a nice D-pad on the Retroid Pocket 5. I watched Wolfden's review on the Retroid Pocket 5 today, and he mentioned how he really likes the D-pad on the Retroid Pocket 5, and I do agree. I'm not a big D-pad fan. I pretty much exclusively use the analog stick, but I do like the D-pad, it's very nice. Let's just hit him with a turbo fist! Yeah, you try and come closer to me! It's actually working! Oh, there's a stalemate. I can't believe this is working. My arm hurts a bit now. Come on! No! Oh no, he's breached my defense! Okay, it turned out it didn't work. I just got a sore arm and now I feel silly. Let's move on to another fighting game that I liked in the 90s. This is slightly cheating because I actually used to play this down the arcade and we're playing the PlayStation 1 version. I never had the PlayStation 1 version, but I did like this down at the arcade. And these days I'm thinking that I want to invest in one of those arcade controllers with the joysticks and the buttons. I think that would be really fun. I'd love to test how it works on the Retroid Pocket 5 and get more into these old arcade games. So let me know if you have any good recommendations for one of those. Oh my god, what was that? Just stay down, play dead. Well, that didn't go very well. I would like to pick my favourite character, the one I used to always play down the arcade, which was the man with the massive hair. Here he is, Paul. We're playing Paul and we're up against King, who seems to have the face of a leopard for some reason. This game is much slower than Street Fighter, but then again we were in turbo mode. I just always remember being very impressed with the mechanics of this game at the arcade. It seemed less button bashy than other games. But then again, I'm woeful at fighting games, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. Oh, even after the KO, he's just relentless. Paul, what a man. From fighting people to fighting cars, this is Twisted Metal, a kind of Robot Wars BattleBot style arena fighter. And I always loved this really iconic ice cream van driving clown character. It was just nuts. This was a game I really liked back in the day, but as I've been trying it again today, honestly, I don't like it anymore. I don't know what it is about it. I just think it's not as fun as I remember. Maybe it's because I just don't really know what I'm doing right now, but it doesn't really seem to have that same charm I remember. So let's move on to another car-related game, and from battling cars, this is Grand Theft Auto, the very first one. I must have been really young when I was playing this game, because I played it just sometimes every now and then, and the whole time I played this game, I thought this character was a chicken. I did not know this was a man. I seem to be getting followed by a bunch of Shaolin monks. Oh my god, their Shaolin powers have made them invulnerable. The movement in this game is really hard to get used to, where the D-pad only controls the rotation of your character, and then you actually have a dedicated walk button. You also have a dedicated punch button, which is pretty cool. This game is so iconic, and obviously now we have GTA 5, we'll have GTA 6 some point in the next 1,000 years, but even this one, the very first one that started it all, decades ago, it's still fun to play. When you pick it up and you jump in a car and just start driving around town, there's just something really inherently fun about it. I remember when I played this when I was really young, I didn't actually like breaking the law. I tried to be a law-abiding citizen and just drive around the town. Because back then in the 90s, there weren't too many games like this where you could just freely explore a city without being guided along on a storyline on rails. It felt really freeing to just jump into any car I wanted and drive around. And then anytime you see a nicer car, you just jump out the one you're in and jump into the nicer one. I found it really, really fun, and this still feels fun now. So Grand Theft Auto, an incredible series, and even an incredible first entry to the series. What a game. I could sit here and talk about PlayStation 1 games all day long, but let's move on to another system now, and this is the Nintendo 64. I had a limited edition Pikachu version of this, which I absolutely adored. And because I had that Pikachu version, I exclusively played Pokemon games. Unfortunately, I never got to play Super Mario 64 or the Ocarina of Time. I only played Pokemon on it. And the first game I got with my Pokemon Nintendo 64 was Pokemon Snap. For those who don't know, Pokemon Snap is a game where you ride on a cart and take pictures of Pokemon. You're then graded on how good your photography is. Whether the Pokemon's smiling, whether it's looking at the camera, whether it's in the middle of the frame. And I feel like this is one of the reasons I grew up really liking photography. And one thing that makes this really fun is that there are a lot of surprises. There are lots of secret Pokemon that pop up and jump out behind things. So you actually have to repeat the level so many times to see all of the secrets. Like this, for example, that is either a Krabby or a Kingler. Over there is a Lapras. And if you wait for the perfect opportunity, you will see it spouting water and other things like that. There are so many hidden secrets. Also later in the game, you can unlock things. So here is a Snorlax. And later in the game, I don't remember exactly what it is, but you can unlock something that will wake it up. So many different things happen in this game. It is much deeper than it first appears. So as a kid in the 90s, I had a fantastic time with my Pikachu Edition N64 playing Pokemon Snap. And while I enjoyed Pokemon Snap, when I got bored of that and wanted to change, I also had another Pokemon game. And that was Pokemon Stadium. This game lets you assemble your team of Pokemon and fight inside the stadium, but I've just jumped into a quick play here where it's assigned me 6 random Pokemon, and I'm against an opponent also with 6 random Pokemon. I don't remember this part, but it seems like maybe we have to choose 3 of the Pokemon here using the buttons next to their name. So I'm going to choose Pikachu, Charmander, and Squirtle. Sorry, Bulbasaur. Also, one thing I do remember about this game was that you could transfer your Pokemon from your Game Boy over to the N64. So you could use the Pokemon you caught in those Game Boy games and battle them here in 3D, which is just such a cool thing. It's almost like a really old inspiration for the Nintendo Switch. So let's use Surf. And Oddish is not really an ideal opponent for us, but let's see how it goes. It's not very effective. So you get the idea with this game. It's basically just a 3D Pokemon battle game, which these days is pretty much just like one part of a modern Pokemon game. But back then when this came out, this was fantastic. And after speaking about transferring Pokemon from those handheld devices, let's now move on to my first ever handheld, which was a Game Boy Color in the grape colorway. I absolutely loved that thing. But the 2 games I played on it were actually original Game Boy games. One of the games I really loved on that was this tennis game, which was actually released in 1989 for the original Game Boy. But I'm including it in this 90s list today because it wasn't released until 1990 for the Game Boy in Europe. So I picked this up in the mid-90s for my Game Boy Color. And this is one of the games I used to play on long car journeys. I think the emulator I'm using here has done something funky with the colors of the characters, but this game is actually quite tricky because you have to time your swing quite accurately, and it's also very easy to hit the ball off the court if you hold the angle too much. Like that. And this is also one of the games I've been playing the most on this, my little Game Boy Advance nostalgia machine. I'll be making more videos about this next week, so watch out for that. And while this tennis game is really fun, and I could put a lot of time into this when I was a kid, we need to talk about the most iconic game of my childhood now. The game that I think defined the entire 90s for me, and the game that made me fall in love with gaming. And what else could it be but my Game Boy Color version of Pokemon Red. What a game this was. This is probably the most impressed I've ever been by a game in my life. Being able to play a game of this quality in something that fits in my hands like this was mind-blowing to me, even as a really small kid. I remember trying to get the day off school when I got this game, pretending I was sick, suspiciously becoming very ill as soon as I received this game, saying, "Mom, I cannot go to school today, I have to just stay home with my Game Boy Color and Pokemon Red." But yeah, it didn't work. She saw straight through that and knew exactly what I was doing. So this game doesn't need any introduction. It's an absolute classic. Pokemon Red or Blue, whichever was your flavor, just an incredible game, one that defined so many of our childhoods, those who were born in the 90s, even those who were born in the 80s and 2000s as well. The game's just incredible, and the fact that the series is still alive and thriving today is no surprise to me at all. So I'd like to end this video today by asking you two questions. First of all, which Pokemon was your starter? Bulbasaur, Squirtle, or Charmander? And secondly, which games from the 90s do you think were the best? What have I missed from this list? What did I miss from my childhood? I'm really looking forward to reading your replies, and let's have a chat in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and push the subscribe button, as it really helps my channel to grow. If you'd like to buy your own Retroid Pocket 5, check out the official Retroid website with my affiliate link in the description, and I'll see you again next time when we cover games from the 2000s. Thank you for watching. Bye.